Hey, what's up, everyone? So, sorry you can't hear me or see me. Just driving to work. Um, I have 2 more weeks at my current job, so I'm trying to get in early tonight and do some work. So, anyways, yeah, got some allergies going. Sniffing, got the sniffles, so no big deal, but a little low energy because of it. Anyways, I wanted to talk about the two cops in LA that were shot. Now, this isn't surprising. It's not just that these cops were ambushed and shot. We've seen this from Black Lives Matter before. The 5 Dallas officers that were murdered in 2014, for example, that Barack Obama then went to their funeral and insulted them, criticized the police for needing to have better relations with the African American community. Imagine that you lost a loved one, a wife or a husband that was in the, police force trying to protect and serve people, and your president shows up to the funeral and criticizes the agency that your loved one worked with. That's what Obama did. That's what he was capable of. So I'm not surprised. We'll see more deaths of police officers. This is what Joe Biden wants. This is what the left wants. This is what Black Lives Matter wants. But what's shocking is normally they have the common sense to pretend it's not what they want. Normally, because they understand that most average people can't stomach this sort of evil. But this time, no, not so much. This time, not only did, I don't know if this person was from Black Lives Matter, but you could see how their rhetoric would inspire someone. We'll wait to see if they catch the person who they are. But it was no doubt that it was Black Lives Matter that surrounded the hospital and attempted to keep the ambulance from taking the 2 officers in critical condition dying into the hospital to have their life saved while chanting, "We hope you die," things like that. Briefly, I'm going to lose you up here, so I apologize for that. But then we should be good the rest of the way. Is it any wonder that this happened? This is what happens. This is the predictable result of what we'll see. This is Joe Biden's America. This is the Democrats' America. This is what they want. Those cops deserve to be killed. They're Nazi evil just like all Trump supporters, just like all white people, just like all Asian people. All right, I think I'm back. Sorry about that. It should be good now. But this is the predictable result. So here's what happens. I've talked about this many, many times. I don't blame a particular movement when an extremist does something in the name of their movement. For example, you start to see a disproportional amount of violence because if you say, yes, I disagree with is a Nazi. Hey, back, you remember this? You remember when Antifa went to there was an Antifa person that went to an ICE facility and it took Molotov cocktails and tried to burn it down and had a gun, and he was shot and killed by the ICE workers. And around that same day, I believe, Antifa militants stormed an ICE facility and lowered the American flag. You remember all of this? This all occurred. And I said, this is predictable. This is going to escalate. Why? Because it is reiterated by all of our institutions just about that there is systemic racism. I watched some NFL games today with friends, and I know that you think that's terrible, and I'm with you. I'm not going to watch many NFL games, but I was at a gathering with friends, and I'm not going to tell them to turn off the television, and it reminded me of old times, which was nice, of just hanging around and watching football and forgetting about things. But I couldn't help but notice the disgusting displays that occurred before the game, in which they all said, without any questioning whatsoever, oh, people like Breonna Taylor and George Floyd were victims of systemic racism by police. There's no evidence from these suppositions. There's no evidence their skin color had anything to do with their death. But this is the mainstream vernacular. This is what we're told. The NFL tells us that. The NBA tells us that. Hollywood tells us that. Silicon Valley tells us that. All of our colleges tell us that. Our media tells us that. The Democratic Party tells us that. So what do you think's going to happen? When every major institution is parroting that line, oh, the police are systemically racist. Then it becomes justified, not only justified, but morally the correct thing to do to fight back against these systemically racist bigots. And if you're okay with using violence to fight Nazis, and you think that all these institutions are systemically racist bigots and basically Nazis, well then you've just given yourself permission to use violence. So I'm not surprised that you see people willing to shoot people, to burn down buildings, to attack people, and then to even cheer when officers are fighting for their lives as they were ambushed and try to block the ambulance from taking them safely to the hospital. I'm not surprised in the least bit. This isn't despite what the Democratic Party wants. This is what the Democratic Party wants. This was the clear outcome. If you tell, then tell everyone for them. They're good people. They're not like me. Rob, you're different. You're a decent guy, but you better change your tune, man, because the mob might decide to come for you. I mean, you're a conservative. So, I think you're one of the good ones. Please stop being a vocal conservative so that the mob doesn't come for you. Well, they remain safe. They think they'll be okay. They'll come for you too. And karma would be that you deserve it. That's what it would be. I'll still defend you. I'll still hope that doesn't occur to you, but it'll come. Maybe you'll just be out with me. Maybe we'll be out in the town getting a bite to eat. You're with me. Hey, why would you hang out with a Nazi, right? That's who these people are. It's time to stop pretending that it's mostly moderates. It's not. Now, there'll be a bunch of apologists. Joe Biden and Kamala came out with a pre-written statement today. It was like, oh, these poor officers, we feel bad for them. You called these institutions systemically racist. You pretended there was no violence. You bailed out violent rioters that were burning down police precincts. You did that. Kamala Harris put a link on our Twitter page to do it. Joe Biden staffers did that. They burnt down a police station. And you supported you bailed them out of jail. So now you're going to feign, oh, well, we were okay with them burning down the police station, but we're not okay with them shooting the police. Will you call Black Lives Matter out by name? I know. When the next time I debate one of these panelists full of Black Lives Matters, they'll say, oh, that's not the real Black Lives Matter. That's not real Black Lives Matter. Real Black Lives Matter, they're not for that. Of course, it's always the way, right? Pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. Oh, that's not real Black Lives Matter. Guy shoots 5 cops in Dallas at a Black Lives Matter rally. Oh, that's not real Black Lives Matter. All of the violence, the arson, the beatdowns. Oh, that's not real Black Lives Matter. You could talk in theory what you want Black Lives Matter to be all you want, but we see what they are in practice. Oh, well, according to a study by Princeton, there's only been 270 locations with violent incidents in Black Lives Matter protests since the death of George Floyd. So we're averaging about 4 cities per state are experiencing violence in the name of this organization, Black Lives Matter. But we have to pretend, oh, they're peaceful. There's no violence there. It's a joke. Meanwhile, we have the FBI still in the Department of Homeland Security saying, white supremacy is the biggest threat. Left-wing violence? What are you talking about? We don't see left-wing violence. Our entire culture, all of our agencies are infiltrated with these people that want the destruction of the United States. They want a globalist system. I'll say this again for my friends that are in Black Lives Matter or support them, that are decent people. Understand that there are people at your organization marching with you that are violent extremist thugs that want to murder people. You need to condemn them and call them out. You're pretending that they're a small problem is laughable. And also understand this, all of these institutions that are currently supporting you, you're just a pawn to them. They'll use you until you're no longer necessary. Once Joe Biden or Kamala Harris win, they'll discard you. You'll be rubbish. Meanwhile, you're supporting the establishment, the neocon, neo-lib warmongers that are going to start the regime change wars all over again. So my thoughts go out to the families of these officers that were shot. I hope the officers make recoveries. Apparently it seems that they're going to live, but they might have complications for the rest of their life. Those images you saw, think of how evil you have to be. You couldn't even pretend for the cameras, oh, it's a tragedy, those cops were shot. You couldn't even pretend. You had to sit there and cheer. Dozens of people cheering, blocking the ambulance from getting them to the hospital. And today, the NFL praised that organization. And Kamala Harris, how many of those people were bailed out by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden supporters? Yeah, of course they yelled "You're next." So, all right, sorry that this was just a car video, but I'll probably do a video tomorrow night. Check out for that, and it'll probably be streamed on all platforms. So stay safe out there, everyone. Thank you very much, and as always, have a good one.